My name is Tsitsima Tekaire, and I'm the global lead for the End Sexual Exploitation program at Equality Now. Sexual exploitation is a form of sexual abuse, and it occurs when someone takes advantage of their position of power or trust or another person's position of vulnerability to exploit for sexual purposes. International law is there in place to protect everyone from sexual exploitation, but what we see is that many governments are failing to fully implement the law. So millions of people are affected by this grave human rights violation of sex trafficking and sexual exploitation. It's a global problem, and no country is immune. Sexual exploitation can take many forms of coercive and predatory actions, such as sex trafficking, exploitation in prostitution, survival sex, transactional sex, which can take the form of sex for rent, sex for water, sex for food, and so on, as we've seen in many countries. And in recent years, we've also seen an alarming rise in online sexual exploitation and abuse. These intersecting inequalities and discrimination predominantly affect women and girls. As Equality Now, we take an ecosystems approach to ending sexual exploitation. So in a context, we would work with state and non-state actors in order to understand the nuances within that context and what needs to be done to address the problems. We also work with the range of laws. So for instance, we look at laws that relate to sex trafficking, to immigration, to prostitution, to child protection, and so on, because it is not sufficient to just address one area of the law, but we need to address all the laws because they, interact with each other. We are particularly concerned with international law, ensuring that the standards are in place, but that also national governments are able to enact those international standards into their national legislation. And once the national laws are in place, we encourage governments to ensure that they are properly implemented, working with local organizations to ensure that the voices of survivors are included in government's policies and actions. What we are calling for and actively advocating for is for governments to come together towards a global response and to also ensure that national laws are strengthened to be able to apply effectively to the digital space and make it safe for women and girls. At Equality Now, we acknowledge that sexual exploitation and abuse are complex issues, and we also acknowledge that there is diversity within the women's movement on approaches to end it. Only by working together are we going to end sexual exploitation and end discrimination and violence against women and girls. Head to our website and explore our resources and the ways in which we can work together.